What's up, everybody? Welcome back if you're subscribed, and welcome in if you're new. Right now, it is about 9:24 p.m. Eastern Time, and in this video, I'm gonna be going over my watch list for the first full trading week of 2025. While everything I speak about is gonna be a part of my current plan, definitely please understand that the market is constantly presenting us with new information, and my plans are subject to change based on that information, and yours should too. With that being said, let's get into the video. Starting off with the news for the week, this is on the screen here just a checklist of the news that I'll be paying attention to personally. Something to keep an eye on, especially this week, is that there's a bunch of employment and job data getting released. We've got the JOLTS report on Tuesday, ADP and unemployment claims on Wednesday, and NFP, and also the unemployment rate on Friday. So it's a big week for all things employment data. So keep an eye on that to see, just any impacts that it may have on the market. And now we can kind of just jump straight to the charts. We'll start off with YMs, or also known as US 30. Something that I'm paying attention to here is that on the weekly, you can see we've got a bit of a double bottom at these lows here. And there's also a weekly demand zone resting right below that level. Ideally, I would really want to see a sweep of last week's low into this demand zone and look for a potential reversal to the upside. I think that could create a really nice move. As far as upside targets go, there was really very little volume traded on the 24th and the 26th here. So like these 2 days, right now I'm on the daily time frame. And obviously that's because of the holiday. But because there was just like a lack of trade facilitated at these prices, I think this general area can make for a decent PT range, and it's not necessarily too far off. So it makes it pretty realistic. And once we kind of enter this range, I think that at that point we can kind of then gauge what this thing wants to do based on the price action. Above there, I do have a 4-hour supply zone. Up here, sellers came in really aggressively, and in that range, that is also where I would be looking for a potential reversal back to the downside as well, just because of how aggressive that move was. And that kind of leads me to the bear side of things. This can serve as both a price target and a potential entry opportunity. So a price target for the bull side and an entry opportunity for the bear side within this red zone up here. So on the daily time frame, it does kind of look like there's a potential head and shoulders forming and setting up, but the neckline is more of a trend line, like about right here, which this would really need to get broken if the bears want to see any significant action, as well as last week's low down here. And this weekly demand zone as well. If these levels were to break, I would be looking for a move down towards the 41,500 area down to like 41K. If the bulls are able to maintain control, then I would only be looking for reversal opportunities around last week's high area, this pink line, up to that 4-hour supply zone I just mentioned. So anywhere within that range would be a decent reversal opportunity for shorts if that were to occur. Moving forward, I'm gonna jump over to ES, and it's pretty similar with this one. We put in a ton of equal lows recently. We double bottomed on the weekly. I'll jump over to the weekly chart really fast. Very similarly, double bottomed on the weekly here, and we also bounced from this 4-hour demand zone that I have marked, this green area here, to close out last week. So in theory, as long as price holds above this demand zone and in this previous low area over here at this 5855 level, I do think that it should be in okay standing to go test at least above previous week high. Excuse me. At least above previous week high, towards those supply zones above that I have marked up here, these red areas. On the bear side, I really would prefer an entry around these supply zones above. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of playing the breakdown of last week's low, just because it seems like there's just a ton of liquidity built up here that just makes for a really easy sweep. I mean, we've tested this area so much. There's just a bunch of wicks down here consecutively on these days. Over here, a bunch of wicks. Just a bunch of, a ton of lows getting put in this range. And I mean, bulls have just been holding us up here, quite a few times. But, at the same time, with a bunch of news this week, there could, just as easily be a catalyst to kind of give us the strength and the aggression needed to just kind of cut through all of this that's been holding us up and just send us down toward, that 5,800 mark, or even really lower at this demand zone down here. Like I said, there's a ton of news, so anything is really possible. But ideally, in terms of from an entry perspective, for me at least, if we were to put in like a lower high around, previous week high, like this pink line, like put in a lower high up there, that could be a decent entry, or as well as, like I mentioned before, at the supply zones up here. Moving forward to gold, to GC. Gold on last Friday, so to close out the week, gold respected this supply zone here, this red area, as well as put in this dark cloud cover here on the daily. This is a decent signal for the bears, but if you really kind of look carefully at what the chart has been doing recently, there's been quite a bit of sideways movement. Like if you look right here, we were consolidating quite a bit, and we're pretty much still within that same range, just kind of consolidating. This is really just kind of action that I don't personally like to take part in necessarily unless I'm trading at the extremes, which is what I definitely want to be cognizant of on gold this week. Personally, I think that this sideways movement is really due to kind of the dichotomy of the dollar rising, which is, traditionally bearish for gold. But there's also, just a bunch of kind of madness going on in the world. And people tend to use gold as a store of value when, things are hectic, which is ultimately bullish for gold. But with that being said, I do think there may be potential downside. There may be potential downside for gold if this supply zone here is continued to be respected with a target of last week's low. On the bullish side of things, I believe if we can find acceptance above this area here, above this supply zone and above last week's high, we'll likely revisit the 2,700 mark pretty quickly, as well as previous highs up here, proving to be pretty decent upside targets. If we see a bearish move first, I'd be looking for reversal opportunities around last week's low area, which kind of coincides with the bottom of this consolidation range as well. If we get aggressive below there, I see the next bullish opportunity to be at this demand zone down here, where I would be looking for a potential reversal. With that being said, those are my 3 primary watches for the first full trading week of 2025, and it should be an exciting one. As always, make sure to manage your own risk and trade wisely. I will see y'all on the next video.